Hi, and welcome back to the Esoteric Nomad Podcast, where we dive deep into subjects involving spirituality, the esoteric, and other types of hidden information. Have you ever had questions such as, what happens when I die? What is my purpose in life? Is there an afterlife or not? Well, Dr. Michael Newton may have some answers for us. Dr. Newton is a highly accredited PhD psychologist and master hypnotherapist. He initially worked as a counseling psychologist until he had inadvertently regressed a client to what appeared to be a past life experience. After this, he continued to explore past life regression and eventually developed his own method of life between lives therapy. Through this form of hypnosis, Newton was able to access the subconscious minds of his patients, where he was allegedly able to access their memories of their past lives, as well as their life between lives in the quote-unquote spirit world. It should be noted that the subconscious mind's connection to higher knowledge is not a new concept. Renowned psychologists Carl Jung and Marie-Louise von Franz, for example, had highly elucidated this fact in their studies regarding synchronicities, indicating that the subconscious mind must be connected to a collective aspect of humanity that operates outside the usual limitations of space and time. Additionally, Rudolf Steiner, founder of Anthroposophy and a pivotal figure in spiritual science, suggested that the subconscious mind harbors latent spiritual capacities that, when activated, allow for a transcendent understanding of the cosmos. Back to Dr. Michael Newton and his life between lives therapy. Over time, Newton had regressed thousands of clients. The most spectacular thing about his regressions is that, over thousands of these testimonials, there was an approximate 90 to 95% similarity among how these clients described the spirit world and the processes involved there, including what happens pre-birth and post-death. Additionally to this, the testimonies made by Newton's clients share countless similarities with what many cultures and religions have described throughout time as what takes place in the spirit realm, as well as what happens in the moments spent in preparation for the next reincarnation. The remarkable consistency in Newton's claims across not only thousands of Newton's clients, but also across numerous cultures throughout time starts to paint a compelling picture of the afterlife that even skeptics might pause over. Newton recorded his findings in his book, Journey of Souls. I read this book a few years ago, and to me, this book has always served as the archetypal Spirituality 101. Specifically, it serves as a great introduction to anyone who has wondered what journeys could potentially lie in store for us outside of this physical, earthly existence. It is a great introduction even for those skeptical of these matters, as the author is clearly highly educated with advanced degrees, and even he had been a skeptic himself until his own accidental findings had forced him to reassess his worldview. In his book, Newton describes his patients' testimonies. According to Newton, consciousness does continue after death, but in a different form where interaction with our physical realm is extremely difficult. In one case in the book, he describes how one patient under hypnosis had recalled one of her past lives where she had just passed away in the arms of her husband. She recalls after death, floating above her own dead body, watching her husband desperately trying to revive her. She sees her husband is in tears, having just lost the love of his life. She tries so hard to communicate to him, to tell him that she's still fine and that she is now at peace, but because she no longer has a physical body, she is unable to get through to him. Newton's case does bring some perspective to the death process. Indeed, his findings encourage us to try to remember that when someone has just passed away, they potentially may continue to be with us, but simply in a different form. Newton continues to describe what happens after the moment of death. His patients, while recalling past death experiences, eventually describe being sucked into a vortex of light. It is through this vortex where they enter the spirit realm. Newton describes the spirit realm as a place of significant healing and rejuvenation. Upon entering the spirit realm, first, one's light body is purified and all of their earthly traumas are cleansed away. As described in Journey of Souls, when the soul returns to the spirit world after a lifetime on earth, it passes through a transition area where it undergoes a kind of spiritual therapy. This involves a shower of healing light, which is intended to cleanse the soul of any residual pain it has accumulated during its recent physical life. This healing process helps the soul to shed any negative energies and prepares it for rejuvenation. It's important to note that the idea of the spirit realm being a place of tranquility and rejuvenation is not new. In Mahayana Buddhism, for example, the Pure Lands are depicted as paradisical realms where beings are free from suffering and can focus solely on spiritual growth and healing, much like the spirit realm's function in providing healing and rejuvenation as described by Newton. In addition, the Navajo believe that in the spirit world, healing from the physical and emotional pains of earthly life takes place, preparing the spirit for its continued existence or next journey. Newton continues to describe what happens in the spirit realm. Once the trauma cleansing is complete, the just deceased soul is then often greeted by their loved ones, who may have passed away earlier than they did. As Newton states, souls feel a wave of relief upon entering the spirit world, where they are greeted by souls who are dear to them. These are primary relatives or friends from their most recent earth life. The joy of reunion is intense, as soulmates are finally reunited after what seems like a long physical separation. The reunion is a significant part of the healing process, as the love and support from familiar souls helps the incoming soul to acclimate to the spirit world. Afterwards, the soul meets with their spirit guide. According to Newton, your spirit guide is a highly advanced soul who works very personally with you from one life to the next. As described in Journey of Souls, upon the soul's arrival in the spirit world, it is not left to wander aimlessly. It is met by a spirit guide, a more advanced being who has taken on the role of a teacher and protector. This guide gently assists the soul in understanding and adjusting to the spiritual environment. The relationship is one of immense trust and affection. In other words, after you die, you and your guides work together to reflect on the life you just lived, to evaluate what went well and what you could have done better. You two then plan for specific lessons and challenges that you'd like to experience in your next life. These lessons and challenges would then take the form of life circumstances that one would have to experience in their next life in order to facilitate that soul's evolution. This is what is referred to as conjuring a life plan. At this time, the soul and their spirit guide decide on things such as their next country of birth, family, and other life conditions. For example, Case 9 in the book discusses a client undergoing hypnosis who recalls having planned a life with a significant physical disability. In this particular life, the client was born without a hand. The primary lesson this soul intended to learn from being born with this disability was how to overcome physical limitations and societal reactions to his disability. This choice was made to foster personal growth in resilience, strength, and self-acceptance. This case is used in the book to illustrate the profound and sometimes challenging choices souls make before reincarnation to facilitate specific spiritual lessons and spiritual evolution. Think of it as strategic planning. Every hardship or success has a purpose and is chosen by you at a soul level to foster growth and understanding. Every pain, every joy here is part of a rigorous training program. In this way, Earth is essentially a school, where each life you live is meant to teach you lessons that are aimed to raise your level of consciousness. If you could see your life's difficulties as lessons we chose for a reason, how might that change your approach to facing them? When you next encounter a challenge, consider it not just an obstacle, but a crucial part of your soul's curriculum, meant to strengthen and enlighten you. This view of Earth as an advanced spiritual academy explains why life here can feel so intense and difficult. It suggests a reason behind our struggles. They are not punishments, but rather opportunities for profound spiritual growth. The struggles we have here are transmuted into lessons that we take with us into our next life and the ones after that. The idea of the life between lives being a sort of school is also not new. Tibetan Buddhism, for example, speaks of what is referred to as the bardo, which is supposedly the intermediate state between death and rebirth, where souls are taught and prepared for their next life. This concept very closely mirrors Newton's life between lives as a school concept. Additionally, many branches of Theosophy state that souls review their past actions in the Akashic records to learn and prepare for future incarnations. This concept also aligns remarkably well with the educational and reflective aspects of Newton's Life Between Lives. Newton goes on to describe these spirit guides. One interesting thing about these guides is that they are always there to help us, and they can even help us during our lives here on Earth, but we must first ask. The way they help us is by communicating to us via our subconscious minds. This communication may then take the form of gut feelings, intuition, or perhaps even a random thought that pops into our minds. From the book, guides are always available to help us, but we must first ask for their assistance because they do not interfere with the free will of a human being. After making contact, they are capable of influencing us in many ways. Most commonly, this is done by placing helpful thoughts and ideas into our minds, which we may choose to act upon or not. In the spirit realm, the just deceased soul also meets with what is referred to by many of Newton's clients as the Council of Elders. This council consists of a group of highly compassionate and highly advanced beings, which serve a fairly administrative and evaluative role in the soul's progress. These elders help the soul understand the choices made in life and evaluate these experiences against the soul's intended life plan. The council makes important decisions regarding a soul's life plan, including the selection of experiences, challenges, and lessons to be learned in each incarnation. Yet another fascinating concept that Newton discusses is the idea of soul groups. Soul groups are very close-knit groups of souls that reincarnate together, lifetime over lifetime, in order to facilitate each other's learning. Members of your soul group, for example, may reincarnate as your sibling, a close friend, or even a lover. These groups of souls tend to reincarnate together physically, as well as to work collaboratively in the spirit realm in a sort of classroom manner to take lessons from their previous lives and to prepare together for their next reincarnation. Indeed, the people whom you're close with in this life may have in fact been close with you in your previous life and the lives before that. Soul groups are described in Case 23 in Journey of Souls. In this case, a subject recalls a previous life where he returns to a group of familiar souls after death, a group he refers to as his cluster group. These souls are at a similar stage of development and have been reincarnating together for many lifetimes. The subject describes the joy and comfort of reuniting with these souls between lives. The familiarity and love they share are likened to the closest familial relationships on Earth. Speaking of soul groups, some souls, especially lovers, tend to pre-plan subtle cues to recognize and reunite with each other in their earthly lives. In the book, he describes one patient under hypnosis who recalls undergoing intense training with his lover in the spirit realm so they can set up the subconscious cues strongly enough to find and recognize each other in their next earthly incarnation. These subconscious cues tend to take the form of gut feelings and intuition. As taken from the book, the souls work with their spirit guides to set up subconscious cues that will help them identify each other on Earth. These cues are often emotional or spiritual signals that resonate when they meet, sometimes even manifesting as a feeling of inexplicable familiarity or deep, immediate connection. The training in the spirit world involves understanding and recognizing these signals, reinforcing them so they're strong enough to be recalled during the physical incarnation. Indeed, it seems like there is a common theme here, that the subconscious mind is much like a doorway to higher knowledge. Messages coming from the subconscious, which may take the form of intuition and gut feelings, may indeed be originating from your spirit guides or even by your higher self, in order to help direct you onto your intended path. As Newton describes, intuition is the voice of our soul. It is a bridge between the conscious and the subconscious mind, linking us to a higher wisdom that is not easily accessed through ordinary reasoning. When we trust our gut feelings, we are essentially trusting the wisdom of our soul, which has a broader perspective and understanding of our life's purpose and the lessons we need to learn. This concept really portrays the idea that intuition isn't simply a momentary chemical reaction, but rather a doorway to divine knowledge aimed to set us on our intended course during our earthly journey. The idea of intuition being the source of higher knowledge can be found in countless other sources throughout history. For example, Carl Jung's theory of the collective unconscious as a source of archetypal wisdom and intuition parallels Newton's idea of intuition stemming from a broader, spiritually connected consciousness. Additionally, Hinduism, for example, shares the concept of the Antar Atma, a guiding inner self that directs us towards our dharma or spiritual duty. And of course, Sufism describes the concept of ilham, which is the idea that our intuition is the direct receiver of divinely originating messages. The idea of soul groups and spirit guides are also found in different cultures throughout time. For example, spirit guides parallel the concept of guardian angels in Christian angelology. Additionally, Hinduism has the concept of the Ishtadeva, which is a deity who guides and assists a devotee through life, a concept very similar to Newton's idea of a spirit guide. In addition, various branches of Jewish mysticism claim the idea that souls from the same root reincarnate together to fulfill collective spiritual tasks, which mirrors the collaborative nature of soul groups as described by Newton. Edgar Cayce, a renowned American clairvoyant who provided thousands of accurate psychic readings on topics such as health, reincarnation, and esoteric knowledge, also heavily stressed the idea that souls tend to organize in groups to reincarnate and learn together, which heavily mirrors Newton's idea of soul groups. Newton continues to discuss how our past lives can continue to affect our present lives. He presents a compelling case where one individual was suffering from a persistent physical pain in his neck and shoulder. During the regression session, he recalled a past life where he was a soldier and had been wounded in battle, specifically in the area of his neck and shoulder. Once this client revisited and processed the trauma through hypnosis, there was a significant reduction in his pain. This reduction in pain can be attributed to the release of emotional and energetic blockages associated with the past life experience. This isn't an isolated phenomenon. In the book Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr. Brian Weiss, we learn about Catherine, a patient who suffered from severe anxiety and phobias. Under hypnosis, she recalled past life traumas that were the root cause of her issues. By confronting these past experiences, Catherine found significant relief. This significantly highlights the therapeutic potential of understanding and resolving past life influences. Adding to this, the quantum healing hypnosis technique, or QHHT, developed by Dolores also offers numerous similar stories. This method also involves inducing an individual into a deep state of trance, where they can explore deep, often subconscious memories of their past lives. There are countless case studies where clients undergoing QHHT were allegedly able to access memories of past lives and then reported significant healing from ailments that had no apparent cure in their present life. These clients were also able to establish a direct line of communication with their guides and even higher selves, after which direct healing could take place. The belief that physical and mental ailments may have roots in unresolved past life experiences goes way back. Tibetan monks, for example, have long held that both spiritual and medicinal remedies are required for healing, and often suggest that our current ailments might be linked to spiritual conflicts from past lives. Additionally, in many indigenous cultures, shamans perform healing rituals that often involve addressing the spiritual causes of physical ailments, believed to stem from traumas or unresolved issues in past lives. It brings to mind a profound quote by Jungian analyst Marion Woodman: "The body carries the conflict that the psyche cannot consciously endure." This perspective invites us to consider a radical paradigm shift in how we view chronic illness. We may now be inclined to consider a more holistic approach to health, not just trying to isolate physical causes, but also those causes which may originate from spiritual trauma originating from far back in our soul's history. It makes me ponder whether forms of hypnosis intended to access subconscious memories may indeed be the next frontier of holistic health. As we conclude this episode of the Esoteric Nomad Podcast, we've traversed through realms that challenge the very nature of our existence and what lies beyond. Dr. Michael Newton's insights, paired with ancient wisdom and contemporary testimonies, suggest a tapestry of life that extends far beyond the physical world we know. The similarities in descriptions of the spirit world across cultures and Newton's extensive research underscore a profound connection to a universe intricately designed for spiritual evolution and training. Newton's findings definitely encourage me to listen more deeply to my intuition and inner self, so as to be guided towards the purpose I had set out for myself prior to even being born here. As we wrap up today's exploration, remember that each life is not just a passage through time, but a carefully chosen path for growth and enlightenment. Join us next time as we continue to uncover the mysteries of spirituality and the esoteric. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date with the latest episodes. Together, let's uncover the deeper truths hidden beneath the surface of our everyday lives.